My name is Courtney Davis, and I am 30 years old. Growing up, my family always considered me as the invisible child, the one who blended into the background. While my younger brother was the star, he received everything: new automobiles, expensive schools, and limitless adulation, whereas I was just another child scraping by to prove myself. I never let it break me, however. I worked hard and created something large that they couldn't ignore. However, over our family's Christmas dinner in Denver last winter, everything burst.
My brother discovered what I had accomplished, $28 million, and he lost it, screaming in front of everyone. My mother jumped in, trying to protect him as my father sat there silently. That night altered everything. What happens next? It's a narrative of betrayal, deception, and fighting up for what's mine. Stay tuned to discover how it all went down. If you're a fan of this family drama, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to stay up to date on every twist. Growing up in Denver, I was constantly compared to my brother. My name is Courtney Davis, and for as long as I can remember, my family has viewed me as the spare kid, the one who does not shine. My brother, on the other hand, was their favored child. At the age of 16, he received a brand new car, private school tuition paid in full, and continual praise for everything he accomplished. Meanwhile, I was working shifts at a neighborhood coffee shop, heating milk and washing countertops to pay for my college tuition. My mother would say, "Why can't you be more like him?" And my father would simply nod along, never intervening. They dubbed me the plain one, as if I were a minor player in their story. I wasn't lazy, however. I studied computer science at a public institution, stayed up late coding, and got an internship at a small software company. It wasn't flashy, but I loved developing apps and fixing problems. My relatives did not care. At Christmas dinners, they'd fawn over my brother's half-baked ideas while I sat quietly, my work disregarded as computer-related. My cousin would smirk and say, "At least he's going places." My mother would smile and I would bite my tongue. By my mid-20s, I had founded my own software company. I poured all into it. Nights, weekends, and every cent I made. It was expanding quickly, but I kept it quiet. My family did not need to know. They'd never inquired about my life anyway. They were too preoccupied rooting for their star. I wasn't after their approval anymore. I was making something for myself. Nonetheless, their comments wounded with each stab in comparison. My friend Kristen, whom I met in college, witnessed everything. She'd roll her eyes when my mother brags about my brother's latest plot, muttering, "They have no idea who you are." It wasn't until I was older that I realized how deeply their favoritism stretched. My mother paid for my brother's European gap year, his business school applications, and even his apartment rent when he wanted time to reflect. Me, I got a lecture on how to pull myself up. My father remained silent as usual, letting my mother run the show. I once overheard my brother's girlfriend and cousin giggling about how I would never amount to much. It ached, but I utilized it as fuel. My company was my primary focus, along with my code, team, and vision. I wouldn't let their doubts define me. Looking back, those years helped form me. I learned to rely on myself and follow my own path. Kristen was my rock, constantly encouraging me to keep going. She was a lawyer by then, bright and devoted, the type of friend who would call out rubbish without hesitation. My family, however, was unaware of my hustling. They saw my brother as the future, the one who would carry on the family name. I was just the sister who paid her own way and didn't need the spotlight. But that was fine. I was creating something bigger than they could fathom. Last winter, I went to my folks' home in Denver for Christmas dinner. The table was crowded with relatives, and the air was dense with conversation and clinking glasses. I sat silently, picking at my food, while my brother Zachary presided. He was all grins, bragging about his latest real estate project, a spectacular development that he claimed would transform Denver. My mother was beaming, depending on his every word. "That's my boy," she said, her voice dripping with pride. "He's got big plans." My cousin Erica nodded along, tossing in compliments like confetti. I stayed silent, used to being ignored, but their voices grated on me. Then my mom turned to me, her smile gone. "Courtney, are you still messing around with those computers?" she asked, her tone sharp like my job was a hobby. Erica snickered and Zachary leaned back, smirking. Something snapped inside me. I set my fork down, looked her. "That's a lie." His chair scraped as he stood, fists clenched. "You've never done anything great in your life." My mom jumped in, her voice screaming. "How could you have that much money? You're just you." Her words cut, but I didn't flinch. I leaned forward, calm but firm. "It's true. I built it. Every cent." Zachary's face turned red, and he slammed his hand on the table, shouting, "You're making this up to humiliate me." Plates rattled and my cousin gasped. My mother kept going, her voice rising. "Courtney, stop this nonsense. You're upsetting your brother." She pointed at me, her eyes flashing with anger as if I'd betrayed the family by succeeding. My dad sat there saying nothing, his face blank. I wanted him to speak up, to say something, anything, but he just looked away like always. Erica tried to lighten the mood, mumbling, "Well, that's unexpected." But Zachary wasn't done. He paced behind the table, muttering about how I didn't deserve it, how I must have lucked out or cheated someone. My mom nodded, her arms crossed, still glaring at me. I could have explained, told them about the years of coding, the sleepless nights, the deals I'd closed, but they didn't want to hear it. They never had. Zachary's girlfriend, sitting next to him, looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting between us. She didn't say a word, just sipped her wine. I stood up, my voice steady. "Believe what you want, Zachary. It's real." He stopped pacing, staring at me like he could burn a hole through me. "You'll regret this," he hissed, low and venomous. My mom chimed in again, nearly shouting, "You owe your brother an apology, Courtney. He's worked so hard." I almost laughed. Worked hard. He'd been handed everything, but I didn't argue. I sat back down, letting their words wash over me. The dinner went on, but the air was heavy, every glance loaded with tension. A few weeks after the dinner, my phone was flooded with texts from Catherine. "Courtney, we need to talk." She wrote, her messages piling up like a storm. "Your brother needs your help. It's family." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. She wasn't asking, she was demanding. Zachary followed with his own texts, all charm and confidence. "Sis, my real estate project's a game share. You're in right. We're family." I didn't reply, but the pressure kept coming. Every day, new messages. Each one leaning harder on family loyalty. It felt like a script, like they'd rehearsed it. I tried to brush it off, focusing on my company, but Mom wouldn't let up. She called one evening, her voice sharp. "Courtney, you've got money now. It's your duty to support Zachary. He's got vision." I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. "Mom, I worked for every penny. He can do the same." She scoffed as if I'd insulted her. "You're so selfish," she snapped. "Your brother deserves a chance." I hung up my hands, shaking. Her words echoed, but I wasn't buying the guilt trip. Then Dad got involved. He called, his tone soft, almost pleading. "Courtney, let's find a middle ground," he said. "Maybe you could invest a little, keep the peace." I wanted to believe he meant well, but it felt like another push to give in. I told him no firmly. "Dad, I'm not funding Zachary's dreams." He sighed, mumbling about family unity, but I could tell he was out of his depth. Days later, I heard he tried to talk to Mom and Zachary, urging them to back off. It didn't work. That's when things got ugly. Erica, my cousin, posted on Twitter calling Dad spineless for not standing up to me. "William just lets Courtney walk all over the family," she tweeted, tagging relatives. Other cousins piled on, posting snide comments about how Dad was too weak to handle me. I scrolled through the thread, my chest tight. They were trashing him publicly, all because he tried to mediate. It wasn't just about him. It was a message to me. "Play along or we'll tear you down too." The text didn't stop. Zachary sent a long one, dripping with fake sincerity. "Courtney, I know you're mad, but this project could put our family on the map. Don't you want that?" I could almost hear his smirk. Mom's messages turned colder, accusing me of turning my back on them. "You think you're better than us now?" she wrote. I didn't respond, but each word hit like a jab. I started avoiding family group chats, muting notifications, but the pressure seeped through. Even at work, I'd catch myself rereading their messages, second-guessing my choice to stand firm. One night, I vented to a coworker over coffee. "They're acting like I owe them." I said, my voice low. She nodded, saying, "Families can get weird about money." It wasn't just the money, though. It was their need to control me, to keep me as the plain one who didn't outshine Zachary. The Twitter posts kept coming, with Erica retweeting snarky memes about greedy siblings. I wasn't named, but everyone knew who they meant. My phone buzzed constantly, cousins and aunts chiming in, painting me as the villain. I tried talking to Dad again, hoping he'd step up. "They're dragging you online," I said. "Why don't you say something?" He sounded tired. "Courtney, I don't know how to fix this." His voice cracked and I felt a pang of guilt, but also frustration. He'd always been passive, letting Mom and Zachary run the show. I hung up, realizing he wouldn't fight back. The family's tactics were clear: guilt me into giving in or shame me into submission. But I wasn't bending. I'd built my life without their help, and I wasn't about to let them take it. In the spring, an email from Eric Stone, an investor, landed in my inbox. The subject line read, "Regarding Davis Properties." I frowned, confused. I'd never heard of Davis Properties. The email was polite, but urgent, asking for a meeting to discuss my involvement in a real estate venture Zachary was pitching. My heart sank as I read further. Eric mentioned a prospectus with my name listed as a key partner, claiming I'd back the project with millions. My name, my reputation, used without my consent. I called Kristen, my friend and a lawyer, that same afternoon. "Something's wrong," I told her, forwarding the email. "Zachary is using my name for some real estate deal." Kristen didn't hesitate. "Send me everything you've got," she said, her voice steady. I dug through my inbox, finding more clues. Promotional emails for Davis Properties, all touting my support. One even had a fake bio calling me a silent investor in Zachary's vision. I felt sick. This wasn't just pressure, it was deception. Kristen came over to my office the next day, her laptop open, already pulling records. "They've set up a company," she said, showing me filings from the Colorado Secretary of State. Davis Properties was registered under Zachary's name, with Catherine listed as a co-founder. My name appeared in their marketing materials tied to my software company's success. "They're leveraging your reputation to lure investors." Kristen explained she found emails between Zachary and Eric where Zachary implied I'd committed funds. It was a lie and they'd built it around me. I couldn't believe Catherine was in on it. "Mom knew?" I asked Kristen, my voice tight. She nodded, pointing to a forwarded email from Catherine to Zachary, urging him to use Courtney's name. "It'll open doors." I stared at the screen, my chest heavy. My own mother plotting to exploit me. I thought back to her texts, her calls about family loyalty. It wasn't about love. It was about control, about cashing in on my work. Kristen kept digging, pulling up contracts sent to investors. They were sloppy fakes with forged signatures mimicking mine. "This is fraud," she said, her eyes narrowing. "We can nail them." She spent days cross-referencing documents, tracking email trails, and contacting Eric's team for more evidence. Eric was furious when Kristen explained I hadn't authorized anything. "I trusted your brother. He told me over a call. He said, you were fully on board." Despite the fact that I had done nothing wrong, I apologized, my face burning with shame. Then came the gut hit. Kristen discovered a text chain between Zachary and Dad, which was forwarded to her by a contact at Eric's firm. Dad had written, "This doesn't feel right, Zachary. Tell Courtney." Zachary's response was frigid. "She will never know. Dad, keep out of this." My father knew. He knew they were using my name but did nothing. I called him that night, my voice trembling. "Dad, you noticed what they were doing. Why didn't you stop them?" He murmured, "I figured they'd inform you eventually." His words ached more than Mom's. He wasn't simply passive. He was complicit. I sat in my office late that night, staring at the proof Kristen had assembled, which included emails, contracts, and even a nice website for Davis Properties with my name prominently displayed. I felt deceived not just by Zachary and Catherine, but also by Dad's silence. Kristen put her hand on my shoulder. "We have enough to expose them," she stated, "but you have to pick what comes next." I nodded, my thoughts racing. They had gone too far by exploiting my name to deceive people. I wasn't simply angry. I'd had enough of them walking all over me. Early that summer, I resolved to stop it. Kristen and I had enough evidence to disprove Zachary's plan, and I wasn't going to let him hide under my name any longer. We sat in my office, compiling a dossier that included emails, false contracts, and screenshots of the Davis Properties website, all of which demonstrated how they had leveraged my reputation to defraud investors. Kristen sent the package to Eric, who was furious but thankful. "This is solid," he stated over the phone. "I'm withdrawing my funds and alerting my partners." She also sent the evidence to a lawyer she trusted, who agreed to look into it for possible legal action. I wasn't prepared to sue. Not yet. But I wanted them to know I wasn't lying. I needed to confront my family directly. I organized a meeting at my parents' home in Denver, saying Mom it was vital family business. She accepted, undoubtedly expecting me to bow to their investment demands. When I first arrived, the living room was tense. Zachary relaxed on the couch, smirking as if he had already won. Catherine sat stiffly, her eyes narrowing, as I placed a stack of documents on the coffee table. Dad stood at the window, averting my look. I took a deep breath and began. Zachary, Catherine, you've been using my name to pitch your real estate company, I stated calmly. I slid the dossier ahead to reveal a counterfeit contract including my signature. This is fraud. You lied to investors, claiming I supported you. Zachary's smirk evaporated. He leaned forward, his face paler. That is not true. He stammered. It's only marketing. I stopped him off, referring to an email he sent to Eric. You promised investors I was putting in millions. I never consented to it. Catherine raised her voice sharply. Courtney, you're overreacting. We were only trying to help Zachary succeed. I held up a hand, maintaining eye contact. Help him. You used my name on a website, forged my signature, and lied to others. That's no help. That is theft. She flinched, then doubled down. Your family. You should want to support us. Her remarks were frantic, almost imploring, but I was not convinced. I'd heard that line too many times. Dad eventually lowered his voice. Courtney, perhaps we can sort things out discreetly. My frustration was boiling over as I turned to face him. Dad, you knew yet didn't stop them. This cannot be worked out. They violated my confidence. He looked away, his shoulders slumped. Zachary attempted a different approach, his tone gentler. We didn't mean you any harm, sis. Let's form a real partnership. We will make it big together. I nearly laughed. His charm was as phony as his contracts. I pushed the dossier towards them. Every page is a nail in their scheme. Eric has already pulled out. I stated that his lawyers have this evidence. Other investors will also get it. Zachary's eyes widened and his hand shook as he thumbed through the documents. You're trying to ruin me, he yelled, getting up. I remained calm, my voice frigid. You did that yourself, Zachary. You used my name. Now you face the consequences. Catherine gripped his arm, murmuring something, but he wrenched away, looking at me. I stood, grabbing my papers. I am not investing, and I am not being silent. Fix it or the lawyers will. I went out, leaving them in startled stillness. Kristen waited in the car, her countenance gloomy but proud. You did it, she replied as I entered. I nodded, my heart pumping. I had drawn a line and there was no going back. They'd been underestimating me for years, but I wasn't their simple one anymore. By late July, word about Zachary had spread around Denver. Eric had removed his investment from Davis Properties, and word spread quickly. As the truth about the fake document became out, investors began to withdraw one by one. Zachary's name was dragged through the mud on local business forums, with posts labeling him a fraudster. His bank accounts were stopped pending an inquiry, and his alleged empire collapsed overnight. I did not gloat. I just watched it unfold, feeling both relieved and exhausted. Catherine phoned me a week later, her voice shaking. Courtney, we made a mistake, she said nearly quietly. Please let us resolve this as a family. I held the phone tightly. Mom, you used my name to deceive people. That cannot be fixed. She began crying, claiming that all she wanted was to see Zachary succeed. I was not moved. Her sobbing seemed like another attempt to draw me back into their turmoil. You've made your choice. I told her, my tone was flat. Now deal with it. I hung up, my heart heavy yet resolute. Zachary's girlfriend, Brandy, was the next to jump ship. I learned from a mutual friend that she had packed her bags and departed, unwilling to deal with the aftermath. Apparently, she dubbed him a sinking ship and went away without looking back. The family was in turmoil. My cousin texted me, blaming me for pulling them apart. Another relative claimed on Twitter that I had betrayed them. I ignored it all. Their drama was no longer my problem. Dad left a voicemail. Courtney, I should have done more. He said his voice was tired. I apologize. I listened to it twice, hoping for a spark of forgiveness, but it did not come. He had stood by as they used me, and now his silence spoke louder than his words. I did not call back. Instead, I blocked his as well as Mom's and Zachary's numbers. My phone fell silent for the first time in months, and I felt a weight lifted. I immersed myself in my company, working late nights with my staff to roll out new software updates. The office was my safe haven, where I could make my own decisions and no one questioned my worth. My staff weren't concerned about my family's disaster. They were concerned about the programming we created and the clients we won. We closed a large agreement with a Boulder-based technology startup. For the first time in a long time, I grinned naturally. My success was not dependent on their favor, and that felt liberating. The news about Zachary continued to spread. A local newspaper published a piece about unsuccessful real estate deals in Denver, featuring his name along with alleged misrepresentations. I did not read beyond the headline. I did not need to. His actions had caught up to him. Catherine sent me one last text, urging me to meet her. "We are still family," she wrote. I removed it without responding. Family does not counterfeit your name or humiliate you for saying no. I learned from a distant cousin that Zachary was scrambling to save face, offering fresh ideas to anyone who would listen, but no one was interested. His reputation was shattered, and the family's golden kid became just another name in a negative news cycle. Meanwhile, I moved forward. My company reached a new milestone, and I celebrated with my team rather than my blood relations. They had tried to drag me down, but I remained standing. In the fall, I stood in my new downtown Denver apartment, the city skyline reflecting through the windows. The space was mine, purchased with my own money and no strings attached. I'd spent the previous year freeing myself from my family's grip. And now, looking out at the lights, I sensed a peaceful strength. The trip had not been simple, but it taught me invaluable lessons about sticking up for myself, safeguarding what I had achieved, and understanding the cost of manipulation. I used to believe that family was about loyalty no matter what. However, being loyal does not imply allowing others to take advantage of you. My mother, Catherine, and brother Zachary believed they could use my achievement to advance their own ambitions. They perceived my hard work as a tool rather than a success. I realized that family is not an excuse to breach trust. It is a bond that requires respect, not mindless devotion. When they crossed the line, faking my name and dragging me into their scams, I had to set a limit. It was not about vengeance. It was about self-respect. Protecting what I had built became my mantra. My software company, now thriving with new contracts and a growing crew, demonstrated that I didn't require their approval. I'd spent years coding, pitching, and sacrificing, all while being labeled as the plain one. Their treachery wounded, but it also highlighted what was important to me: my career, my integrity, and my independence. I stopped seeking their approval, which I had craved without recognizing it. I felt liberated the instant I let that go. Manipulation has a cost, and I witnessed it in their lives. Zachary's ambition blinded him, resulting in lies that cost him his reputation. Catherine's need for control drove her to rationalize his acts, even if they were incorrect. Dad's quiet and inability to step up left him alone in their mayhem. Their decisions disrupted their own universe, not mine. I discovered that those who manipulate frequently find themselves pursuing short-term gains at the expense of trust. I refused to let their faults define me. My firm became my main focus. We released a new product, a software platform for streamlining business operations, and it took off faster than I expected. Clients from all over the country contacted us, and my crew worked late, humming with enthusiasm. I hired more developers, relocated to a larger office, and watched our valuation increase. Every milestone reminded me that my worth was not determined by my family's perspective. I built it, and no one can take it away. Living independently meant more than just breaking ties. It was about building a life that felt authentic. I surrounded myself with people who respected my job over my last name. Kristen, my friend and lawyer, supported me throughout it all, offering advice without wanting anything in return. My team evolved into a family-like structure based on mutual respect. I hosted dinner parties at my place that were filled with laughter and ideas rather than drama or guilt trips. For the first time, I felt comfortable in my own skin. I didn't need my family's approval anymore. I heard reports that Catherine was still attempting to rectify things, reaching out to family to depict me as the issue. Zachary was presenting new projects, but nobody believed him. Dad remained silent as always. I did not check their social media or return their calls. Their world was theirs to explore. Mine was right here in the life I'd fashioned out. I wasn't angry anymore, just finished. Standing in my flat, I considered what I had gained. Not only success but clarity. I learned to trust my senses to protect my successes, and to avoid people who would rather take than offer. Manipulation may promise fast rewards, but it inevitably results in a path of shattered relationships. I selected a different path, one of hard labor, honesty, and independence. As the city lights shone outside, I felt I'd come through stronger than